Guys, it's Becky, and today I want to open up my most recent subscription package that got here today, and it is the Beads to Live By Curated Collection. Now, I subscribe to the seed bead collection and the two-hole bead collection from Beads to Live By for their curated collections. And with those, you get 8 little packets of seed beads that have been, as the tin says, curated to go together and to color coordinate together. And then the two-hole beads are usually also coordinated to go with the seed bead subscription. So you can be pretty much guaranteed that what you get is all going to go together. Like, the decision-making process is like removed from you, and all you have to do is maybe decide what you want to make with it. And so this is all of the stuff that came in both the seed bead subscription and the two-hole bead subscription. And let's just look at them a little bit closer and in a little more depth. So the seed beads, let's get some of these out, or closer at least, so we can take a look at these. It looks like we've got kind of a rainbow iris coating seed bead here, which is really gorgeous and works really well with these laser etched two-hole dagger beads that have a whole bunch of different colors and look exactly like peacock feathers. I just opened the plumage box from the bargain bead box with like all of these colors in it. So I'm probably going to use this in some of my making with that, and probably some of these other colors too, because they'll go so well with it. And I don't think that was planned, but I love when serendipity happens and you get some really awesome things that happen like that. So we've got these rainbow iris ones, we've got these, and there's some other ones that go really well with these too. Like, you've got this really light blue, and this is, I don't know if it shows up as light and sky blue on camera as it does in person, but it's a really calming, like, this is the color of sky kind of a blue for these. And that brings me to these two-hole beads, and these are the tile beads. They have a hole. Let me get a little closer so you can see. They have a hole that runs, 2 holes that run up through the square, kind of parallel to 2 of the edges. And they're pretty fun and easy to work with when you do these. And then some of the other two-hole beads that we have, you've got these silkies, which they're squares basically, but the holes that run through them put them in kind of a diamond position because they run this way through the squares. This is an example of a bracelet that I made with some silky beads from a previous curated collection. And it looks like these have kind of a coating on them that reflects a few different colors, not just like a luster color. And I think it's the same kind of coating that you get on these white beads, where it's kind of like a rainbow color as far as that coating goes. It makes it a little bit more interesting than just a luster coating on those beads. And again, they go really well with each other. And then there's these two-hole lentils, and they have multiple colors on them. I love that the lentils that we get have so much in depth to them. And you can use these in a myriad of different ways. But there's also, I don't think we've got any purple that actually goes with this in these, but we do have a couple of different greens. We've got one that is a matte green, and you can see there's a couple of different colors that kind of shine off of there. So it's like ranging from like a viridian kind of color to like a teal color, and some of it is kind of a um, like an olive color. So it's got a lot of depth and a lot of different facets to it for these matte seed beads. And then we've got these, which are semi-transparent and silver lined, and they come in this really light mint green color. And I like that. All right, let's take a look at the rest of the offerings, where we have another silver lined, and this one is more of a, I'm not going to say periwinkle because it's a little more blue than periwinkle. It's kind of like a navy blue, but again, it's semi-transparent, so it's just a hint of that color. But I think it looks really great, and it goes with all of these things. And then we've got some more matte beads, and these are like definitely a navy blue, or maybe, yeah, no, definitely navy. So you've got these dark beads too. And then this is one of our neutrals. I think the white is one of the neutrals, but this is a lustery gray. It reminds me of pewter, you know, or hematite sort of colors. And I think that that's going to be great working with some of these others. Like it might give you kind of a metally kind of attitude or finish with some of these. Okay, and the last 2-hole beads, I know I didn't go in any particular order, but I don't think you guys are expecting that, are these. I love the stud or pyramid beads because they are great in things. I've done a couple of different bracelets and a choker with these, and they are really fun to work with because they give you like that 3D pop out sort of component that you can add into your jewelry making. And this one has, you can see all the different colors shining off of this coating that we have on it. It's like a rainbow iris coating. So you've got like pinks and yellows and greens and blues. And so that just really ties it together with a lot of these other colors and all of these. So let me pull out just a little bit, get you more in frame. All right, so I was thinking of making something with some of these seed beads. I just want to do seed beads. I'm not going to do the 2-hole beads for this. I am going to definitely be making something with these later in the month, but something that I have been kind of like, it's been my jam for the last couple of weeks while I've been working on organizing and moving things and all of that, is I've been making daisy chains. And so I wanted to do like a quick daisy chain with some of these beads, and it looks like we've got some pretty cool colors to do this. This was like the June curated collection. I started this. I have not attached clasps to it, but I've done like a daisy chain, like bracelet length, like that. And I just have to attach some clasps and it'll be good like that. But the part of the daisy chains that I've really been enjoying is making little daisy chain rings, because I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I need a project that is fairly easy, so I don't have to spend a lot of brain power working on it, but also fairly quick, so I get that serotonin hit of having a completed project, you know, like having the project be done like right then. And so these are just a couple of rings that I made while I was trying to unwind at the end of the day and just needing a real quick project that I could do fairly quickly, fairly easily, and have that, hey, I'm done sort of thing at the end of the day. So I'm going to make a daisy chain ring on camera with you guys, and we'll just chat while I'm doing that. Let me figure out, like, this one was which box was this? I think this might have been the box previous to this one. I can't remember, but it had some white beads and some blue beads, and then these like sort of brownish beads that I used for the center. When I did this one, I just swapped my center beads because they're fun, not really great like natural colors anyway, and it worked out pretty well for this one. So for this, let's see, I want 2 different flower colors, so I think I'm going to go with this light blue for the petals on one of these and white for the other one. So it'll be similar to this one, except instead of dark blue and white, it'll be light blue and white. And then I'm definitely going to want to use these for my little leaves in between my daisy chains, like these ones here. Let me get a little closer so you can see these little leaves between them. And do I want a center? You know what? Let's do these rainbow ones for our centers. I was thinking about doing, like, say, grabbing from the other, my other stash, like this yellow color. It would look fantastic in the middle of these, but I'm gonna do something fun with just the beads that came in the subscription. So I'm gonna set these over here on the side, and let's get out some petal beads. These are the 2 petal beads, Petal Beads A, Petal Beads B, some leaf beads, and some center beads. And let's make daisy chains. And daisy chains are like one of the first things that I learned how to make when I learned bead weaving, which is probably one of the reasons why I went back to it when I was needing something that was easy and quick and could give me that satisfaction of completing a project. After having a long day where I didn't want to spend a lot of brain power working on some things, and usually like knitting is my jam for that, because I'll grab a really easy, mostly garter stitch, what they call TV knitting, for that. But I had put my knitting away and all of my yarn away, and I wanted to do just some bead weaving, just to have a quick project. Also, with knitting, unless you're doing really small projects, you don't get that immediate, oh, I finished a project feeling when you do them. You get like weeks and weeks of slog to get through them, which usually I'm fine with because I'm a process crafter. I enjoy the process of making things a lot more than the actual having a finished item thing. But I also really like that I finished a project feeling. And that's one of the reasons I like earrings so much, is because you can sit down with a couple of components and like 10 minutes later you have a finished item, something that's done, because it's so quick and so easy to do earrings. And sometimes, you just really need that. So I'm going to take, you don't need a lot of this thread. I'm just going to take about an arm's span, and that's probably too much. For beading thread, any beading thread is going to work for you. There aren't a lot of sharp edges on these beads, like you get with bicones. So you don't need something that is thermally bonded, but if you've got something that's thermally bonded, that's fine. It doesn't need a lot of flexibility and drape like you do with fringe earrings. So having something that's just purely like nylon and moves easily isn't super important either. So any beading thread will work. And I'm just going to use some scissors and cut that beading thread here for this. And usually my jam for my needles is a large eye needle, but I can't find mine right now. They're still out amidst the dining room table chaos. But so I've got some regular beading needles, and we are going to find out real quick if I am any good at threading this using that trick that I learned not too long ago, where you flatten the end of your thread with some pliers. And these are just tweezer nose pliers. I think any flat pliers will work on that, not the ones that have teeth. And I'm just going to take the end of this, press it, and flatten it. Like that. And then take my needle. So I've got my eye. I'm going to turn my eye towards it. And this is the part that's a little rougher. Am I putting it in there? Oh, look what I did. Just going to grasp this to pull it through. Huh! What do you know? I just threaded a needle. Threading the needle is the hardest part for me as far as bead weaving goes. So I already accomplished something today. Good job, me. All right, so for I guess there's a couple of different ways of doing daisy chains. I mean, I've learned a few different ways as I've gone along. One is to have the petal beads and then add the center after you put the petal beads in. Another one is to do half the petal beads and the center, and then when you go for a second pass, add the beads. I'll show you both ways. But I also wanted to show on this one, that's why I've got this handy, how I started it was just with a right angle weave with 3 of the leaf beads and then 1 of the petals. And then I started this. So let me show you with that. I'm not gonna tie it off or anything. If you're going to do a clasp, you'll probably want to do it this way. I'm not going to be using a clasp though, so I'm gonna pick out my beginning so that when I bring the other end around, I can sew it into my beginning. But this would be a beginning if you were going to attach a clasp, where you have 2 leaf beads, a petal, and a leaf bead. And then you just sew back through the 2 petal beads or the 2 leaf beads and 1 petal bead. And then readjust it so that it makes a little right angle weave unit, like so. Okay, so the first way that I know, and there are other ways out there, I just haven't learned them yet, to do a daisy is with the putting all of the petals in first and then adding your center. So I want 6 petals and I've already got 1 petal on here. So I'm going to pick up 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to sew into my petal bead again, going in the same direction that the thread is already going through. So the thread is coming out of this side. I'm going to sew into the opposite side so it goes in the same direction. This is like a glorified right angle weave, basically. So now I've got all of my petals. I want to add a center bead. And it's a little loose, and that's fine. It's loosey-goosey. So I'm going to grab one of these center beads that I chose, and I'm going to skip these next 2 petal beads and sew into the one that's basically opposite of the one that I first sewed into, if this makes sense. So I've got, this is the first bead, 2, 3, 4, so I'm going to sew into bead number 4. And when I do this, hopefully this will just pop this guy right into place in between all of my petal beads, and I'll make myself a little daisy. All right, so I've got that, and then to continue on, I'm going to pick up 2 once I sew through that last one, I'm going to pick up one of my leaf beads, the next color of petal, and a leaf bead, like so. And then see how my thread's coming out this end? I'm going to just sew into the other side of that one petal bead to make another right angle unit. Then sew into the petal bead, or sorry, the leaf bead, and then into this petal bead. And this is, I'm going to show you the second way to make a little daisy, and that is picking up two petal beads, like so, and a center bead, and sewing in to my first petal. And then what I'm going to do here is I need to add 3 more petal beads to this. So I'm going to sew up through the second petal bead, up through this third petal bead, and I'm going to add 3 more. 1, 2, 3, and sew back into the first petal bead here. And that makes myself a daisy. Now you may prefer this because it's more secure, more thread passes through here, so you don't have to worry about it coming apart, but they're daisy chain rings. They're not going to come apart. So it's just going to be like what is it called? The thing, a preference as to which type of daisy chain you would enjoy doing more and how you feel about that. So this was the first one where I did all of the petal beads first, and then I went back up through the middle to add my middle bead. And this is the second way where I added 1, 2, 3 beads, went back through these, added these 3 beads, and then I just went back through these 1, 2, and I'm about to go through this bead up here at the top in order to move on to the next one. And to move on to the next one, you pick up one of these, a next color petal bead, which for this one it's going to be white, and then another green bead, and sew through that top petal bead. And this is basically how you do the daisy chain. All right, because I want this to be fairly quick, I'm just going to go ahead and use the add petals and then go through the middle thing for the rest of these, because that's the one that it goes more quickly for me. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then going through there. Picking up a middle bead. And going through the bead on the opposite end. Whoop. Popping it into place. And then moving on to the next one. And it doesn't take very many of these in order to get enough length to go around your finger. I'm going to continue on and do this, and I will stop occasionally to see how far I've gotten and how close I am to the end. Just do a size check. One, two, three, four, five. Oh boy. Anyway, so part of what I've been doing has been organizing my beads. And one of the things is organizing my seed beads. And I have been depotting my seed beads and curated collections and all that into some organizers that I think are going to work a lot better for me than just having baggies in a box or something like that, because I don't know if you guys are like this, but like if I can see it, then it exists. If I can't see it, it doesn't exist. Like my aunt's beads that I inherited, a lot of them, like there's some sort of clear containers, which are great because then I know what's in them. But some of them are just like film canisters, basically, which are opaque. You can't see through them. So to get around that, she had glued the type of bead that was inside that film canister to the top. But then I guess she ran out of those beads or put some new beads in there, because the bead on the top isn't always what's inside of them. So it's pretty rough going. I am going to do a project now that I've got my space all cleared out and I'm doing a lot more organization. I'm going to do a project where I organize and integrate my aunt's beads a little bit better into my beading things. So that'll be probably an ongoing thing that I do as I go through. But it means that like I need to get more organizers, because I'm actually really happy with this one seed bead organizer that I found and have been using. Let me grab them real quick. Actually, let me set that down for a minute and show you guys. I'm just gonna stop here. It's these. They are like, they sell them for like diamond painting things, but it's just a little container that you can depot your seed beads into, and then you see them. You know exactly what you have. And it's really great because I've got several of these, but then you can see like exactly what you have, like 15-0s, some delicas. I haven't finished putting a lot of the 15-0s that I have in there. And actually there's some that I don't have a lot of. And I think they also sell these in a shorter size. So I'm going to order some of those and put my smaller amounts in there so that I have room for the ones that I have larger amounts for these. And it's just going to be a lot easier for me to be able to see at a glance. And I've got them right here next to my desk, so I can reach over and grab them whenever I'm working on things. And so I'm going to, I've got those. I have to get more because I need some of them for putting my newest curated collections in there. But it's just me needing to have it visible so that I know what I'm working with when I'm actually creating things. Because I don't know if you guys are like this, but that bottom drawer of the fridge is where vegetables go to die because I don't see them. They're there, but they're like Schrodinger's vegetables. They both exist and don't exist until I open the drawer and see the wilted compostable mix that's down in there. And then I have to throw them away. So what I started doing is, instead of keeping my vegetables in the crisper drawer, which is just out of sight, out of mind for me, I have designated it's eye height, like face height for me in the refrigerator, that shelf as the vegetable shelf. So every time I open it, I see the vegetables right there in front of me. And I mean, I still throw away some vegetables, but not nearly as many as I used to. By having them there where I can see them when I open up the refrigerator, I'm like, huh, what do I want to eat? And so, we're eating more vegetables. We're not throwing away as many as we were. And it's working out really great for us to have it there. But it's the same with beading things. If they're in like an opaque box, they become Schrodinger's beads. They both exist and they don't exist. And I don't know until I open that box which it's going to be. Are they going to be beads that I remember being in there? Are they going to be beads that I forgot about completely? And we don't know. But if they're in a clear container and I can see them, then I know what I have to work with. I know where it is, and I have that memory of where I put it in the stack or in the cupboard. And that's one of the reasons why I like having this type of organizer for my like bead kits to put them into, is so that I can see what I have, and have that be readily available while I'm working on things. If I'm working from a design kit, or if I'm working from a bead box, being able to have it right there instead of just socked away somewhere not very visible. It just doesn't work for me to do it that way. And I think that's part of the whole organization thing, is finding something that works for you and for the way your brain works. Like having these things where I can see them works for me. It might not work for others. I know some folks get panic attacks when they see like crafting stuff all over the place, and so they need to have it out of sight, out of mind. What am I doing? There I am. Bloop. Just popping that one into place. Do you know what I like about using these for the center? Like some of them are purple, some of them are green, some of them are like yellowy color. And so you get like these cool differences with each of these daisies. I think that's really fun. And I'm glad that that was included in this collection. I'm glad I chose it. It's really great. But Cassandra does a really good job of putting together colors, and some of them are colors that I might not even think to use together, but then she puts them together and they're fantastic. And like some of the colors in what was it, the June box, aren't really colors that I would gravitate towards, but when she put them all together, like this one, she put them all together and I was like, you know what, that is exactly what I want to make with. That's so like colorful and springy, and like these look like vine ripened tomatoes, and this looks like corn, and this is like not quite green beans, maybe peas, but it looks like summertime, you know? And I wouldn't have thought to put all these together, but they look fantastic together. And it's the same with this really calming and relaxing color palette that she put together. And that's the thing, is when I opened this, my first thought when I saw those colors was, what a calming color palette this is. And then I read the insert, and that's exactly what she had intended, was that it be calming. So like you hit the nail on the head, Cassandra. You did it. Mission accomplished. This is a calming and relaxing color palette. And so far I'm enjoying working with it. So let's pop one of these into place on this guy. And then I'm going to do a little fit check to see how much further I need to do. Just going to hold one end of the strand and bring this around. It looks like maybe two more. Let's see. Let's do 2 more and see where that ends up with. Okay. Just stopping to admire my work sometimes. There was a very famous knitting designer who, in some of her knitting instructions, she actually wrote it out to make a cup of coffee and admire your work. And that is something that I try to do as I'm creating things, is to stop and admire what I'm doing, even before I am finished creating something, to just stop and admire it, to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to take a little break, I'm going to look at what I did, and I'm going to be happy about what I did. We're going to stop and admire your work. And I think that that's something that we need to do a lot more of as people, especially if you've got like imposter syndrome, you know, where you're like, I'm not actually a jewelry designer, or I'm not an artist, or I'm not why is this coming out of there like that? That's not right. Hold on, let me go back through. There we go. Okay, so that didn't go through the actual bead, it went through the thread. So I'm gonna make sure I go through the bead on this one. There we go. That's better. Sorry, I messed up because I was talking. That happens sometimes to me. I get distracted with my mouth. Okay, so it looks like there is enough room for one more blue bead. Before I do the blue bead though, I'm going to just undo this part that I started, because if you recall, I started it with the, show you how to start it if you are going to be doing like a bracelet or attaching a clasp like I am with this one. So if you're not doing that, you can start it just by putting six of your petal beads all in a circle and then going back up through the middle to add your middle bead. That's how you can start that one. So I'm going to pull these off because I want to be able to attach. See, I'm going to do one more blue petal flower, and then I'm going to attach the blue petal flower to this flower, which is the first one that I did, the white flower, and then I will have a ring. So let me grab my leaf, blue petal and a leaf, and start my last one. I'm gonna go all the way through here. All right. Anyway, what are some of your favorite organization hacks that you go by? Like with me, I have to, it needs to be visible. And that's why I like the clear storage containers. But is there something that works good, really well for you in storing your beads or your art supplies or your crafting things? I would love to hear how you guys do your stuff. Because I'm always searching for better ways to do these things. Like, and I've asked questions on like some Facebook groups, like, how do you store this or how do you store that? And so I got some really good answers, and I've got some storage containers specifically for some other things. Like with my silver silk, somebody suggested photo boxes, and I haven't put them in there yet, but I got some photo boxes, and I'm going to be sorting those later. It's all part of my big project. So now that I've got my blue, my last blue one, I want to be able to join it with my first white one, and I'm going to do that with some leaf beads. So I'm going to pick up one leaf bead. So I'm coming out of my blue petal bead here. I'm going to pick up one leaf bead. One leaf bead, Becky, not two. I know how to count, I promise. You guys have heard me. 1 leaf bead, and then I'm going to bend this around, and I'm going to go through this top white petal here in this direction. Just the one white petal. And now I'm going to pick up a second leaf bead and then go through this top blue petal. Like so. And it's not super secure. I'm just gonna go through this one more time to reinforce it. And where's that other strand coming out of? Okay, so it's coming out of that end of the thing. So I want to somehow get back up there. So I'm going to go through here. And with this, just do it however you want to as far as like reinforcing. I'm going to go back through here. I'm going to go around my blue beads. Hold on to your beads, friends. So I'm going back through my blue beads. And then I'm going to go into this leaf bead, which will end me right next to my beginning thread. And I'm just going to tie a knot there. All right, I'm going to take my needle off because needles sometimes get in the way of tying knots. I'm just going to do a surgeon's knot, which is like a square knot where you do your first pass over under, and then the second pass, when you go to do over under, you just go over twice and pull it real tight. That's a surgeon's knot. And now I've got a thread burner, but I don't have it here, so I'm just going to cut off my ends of my wildfire. And you can just go ahead and imagine that I burned these ends off and that they're not visible while you look at my beautiful work with my daisy chain ring that I made with the July Curated Collection. All right, let's get all of our guys out here so you can see them all together. I'm going to pull back a little bit so we've got more room for these guys. And I'm just going to lay them all out for one last look at the July Curated Collection from Beads to Live By. And so are the seed beads, and here are our 2-hole beads. And I, for one, am very happy with the subscription. I don't always get the add-on bundles, which is check glass, you've got pressed glass, or fire polish glass. Sometimes I get them, sometimes I don't. It all depends on how my budget is looking that month. And I really appreciate that it is an add-on so that you can if you want to. But I really enjoy getting this collection. It's a great way to build up a stash of like very different and yet cohesive, they go together kind of beads. And I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with me, talking about beading, talking about bead organization, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. Bye!